communities, since you have turned a blind eye while your Department of Environmental Quality freely participates in corporate corruption and obstruction of the regulatory process, and you have willfully ignored your Advisory Council on Environmental Justice's finding of racism and injustice involving the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines. In turn, we will continue to bring up information regarding your state agencies, this time regarding endangered species. Your state agencies report that over 500 vertebrate animals in Virginia are rare or declining and at risk of extinction, imperiled by the ongoing loss or degradation of their habitat. Climate change is a variable that increases the threats to endangered species exponentially. Your own Secretary of Natural Resources, Matt Strickler, pointed out that the primary reason many species are where they are is precisely because states, including Virginia, have not had the resources or the political will to do the job themselves. The most operative words in that statement are political will. It is precisely the absolute lack of political will of you and your administration regarding the environment, Virginia communities, and wildlife that will lead to an even greater deal of devastation of Virginia's endangered species due to the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines. The utter destruction of habitat by the pipeline companies will be an irreparable harm to these species. This is in addition to the contribution to climate change from the pipelines, worth the emissions of 45 coal-fired plants. In fact, while you claimed that the regulatory process was working, the pipeline companies showed little regard for the regulations on tree felling centered around protecting endangered species by petitioning to cut trees and actually cutting outside of the designated dates. This lack of political will is an obvious result of you cuddling up closer with the pipeline companies Dominion and EQT than Indiana bats do to each other in wintertime. These bats, one of the endangered species impacted by the pipelines, hibernate in clusters of 300 bats per square foot. The other day, when pipeline opponents voiced their concerns and protest at an event you were attending, you said something along the lines of, it's a hard time to be a public leader. You must have meant corporate puppet instead.
South County to the property of Lynn and Bill Limpert, where within, I don't know, half a mile of the property, Dominion has a right-of-way cutting across the mountains for its electric lines. And Dominion, when asked why you don't co-locate this pipeline with your own right-of-way, Dominion doesn't have an answer. Oh, it'll be too hard. And yet, they plan to go through the Limpert's property, which has slopes between 35 and 70%, and they think that's not too hard. Bill, as you know, is a civil engineer who spent his life's work looking at construction plans, and he told me that the erosion and sediment plan for the section on his property is the worst he has ever seen in 30 years of reviewing construction plans. Dominion cuts and pastes from other projects into their applications, into their documentation, to the FERC and to the DEQ, and Virginia state government is not doing due diligence to hold Dominion to the standards that you said you would uphold and that you would keep when you became governor of Virginia. So we call on you today to take a cue from the Fourth Circuit, to take a cue from the people who live in Bent Mountain, in Bath County, in Nelson County, Augusta County, Nottoway County, Prince Edward County, Giles County, Montgomery County, Chesapeake, Dinwiddie, Hampton Roads. We ask that you take a cue from the citizens of Virginia and do your job to protect our water and air and the people. You still have a chance to do the right thing. Each day that you sit on your hands, you ignore the evidence, you deny citizens the right to their property. Each day that you do that will be another day added to your time in a kind of karmic debt that will certainly come back to you. We ask you, please, we've been begging you, please, do your job. Enforce Section 401 of the Clean Water Act. Enforce the rules that are available to us to control Dominion. Do your job. Move to 100% clean energy, to set that as a goal. Yesterday, the heat index in Richmond, Virginia was 108 degrees in the beginning of September. Today, I don't know what it is, but it's hot as heck out here.
We want to go home.
Climate change is something that we must, each of us, as moral beings, must take a stand. If we do not, our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren will be in harm's way. And like every other man-made disaster in the history of time, vulnerable and disadvantaged people will bear the brunt of climate change. Their bodies will be the ones sacrificed on the altar of fossil fuels. As you continue to support dirty, fracked gas that, as you know, a couple weeks ago Duke University reported is using so much water that the United States is going to be in critical need of drinking water in a very short time. The use of this water to extract little bubbles of gas from the shale rock is insane. And yet the companies keep doing it because their business is built on a house of cards. Their wells do not produce enough money to pay for the damn well, so they have to frack another one to get some cash out of it, cash out of the ground. The upstream social, economic, and environmental costs of the gas that would be coming through the Mountain Valley and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline are unacceptable. If you have any soul left, any conscious human being can see that destroying communities, poisoning their wells, poisoning the people, to send fracked gas overseas is immoral. And you are participating in it every single day that you don't take action. Do your job.
Grow up knowing that you value corporate donations over her and my son's future on this planet. Shame on you.
Thumb. You say that there's nothing you can do. Your legal team says that there's nothing you can do. I call BS. In New York, your fellow governor, Governor Cuomo, he stood up to FERC, and so can you. To quote a powerful pipeline resistor who was 5 weeks up on a tree rest on her property, only to have to come down and the next day have an army chainsaws come in and destroy her paradise and her water. To quote her, Governor Northam, grow a pair. If you want a blue wave, protect your water. Otherwise, that wave is going to turn brown.
Nice project.
Stop the pipeline.
Very good. Woohoo!
Wave without clean water. No blue 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 wave without clean water. Lines. Paris, not pipelines. 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 We want no pipelines. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? No pipelines. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? No pipelines. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? No pipelines. When do we want it? Now.
Water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise, shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Again. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're black and white together, we shall not be moved. We're black and white together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We're mountain and valley together, we shall not be moved. We're mountain and valley together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. Young and old together, we shall not be moved. We're young and old together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing on the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We're country and city together, we shall not be moved. We're country and city together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
How about that?
No